Welcome, and today we're going to run through a live match here at Weston Fishery. And today we're on the open, which is on the Jack's Pool. Now, last night Darren's drawn me peg 3, which, if any of you don't know, it's just as you come through the gate on the right hand side, and it's a brilliant peg. So if you look at the peg now, you can see I've got a lot of open water, a nice long margin to my left to fish to. I've got someone on peg 4, but that doesn't really matter because it just makes it a lot easier for me to fish. I just cut that out of my peg, leave that side and focus on the left hand side of my swim. So how I'm thinking of approaching the match, well, we're fishing in the week, it's been a bit colder, cooler, and the natural bait has been on the other lakes and they've been a lot less. Now, from experience, I know this lake is a lot cooler than the other lakes when I've done the oxygen in the past. And what I want to do is I just want to take a cautious approach. I haven't been for a while, I don't know the in methods. And what I want to do is I want to sit down and just approach it nice and softly, work my way into the match. There's only a few on the match day, it's only a small match, but it's just nice and interesting. Bring it down and see you guys, see how I can just thoughts and processes through the match. So I'm going to move on to what I've set up in areas of the peg now before the start. So areas of the peg we've set up today. Now, with me saying to keep it nice and simple, I have kept it simple. What I'm going to do is Jack's is predominantly a lot of silverfish in here. Now, in matches you can look to catch to 30 to 50 pounds of them. Now, a lot of people neglect them, but in the middle of the match they can be a great target fish and they can keep your weight coming up. So what I've done is I'm going to fish maggots at 30 metres on the bottom and shallow, but without going too hasty to start with. By this I mean I'm just going to pot some bait in. When I start short on pellets, I'm going to let it build up, pot a few times, and then go on the bottom and see if I can draw a lot of fish into my peg and let them force me shallow. What I don't want to do is blast a load of shallow, not catch these fish, and then be stuck with nowhere to go. And that's me plan in the middle of the match. If I can work my way softly, if I can just catch on the bottom if it's hard, and if it's really good, the fish will tell me to come up and then I can change to that. Now, you heard me mention short poles, so what I've done is I've plumbed up, and I know personally the bottom here at 5-6 metres, but just before the shelf comes up, is really hard. Now, this is important when you're fishing pellets. It eliminates foul hookers, missed bites. You're not fishing on the silt. It just makes it a lot easier to fish on the shelf. And all I've done is plumbed it up just as it comes up. It's just say a foot up the shelf, and that's where I'm going to fish hard 4mm pellets. Now, with the edge, it's quite interesting. I didn't really know what to fish. I don't know what's been working. I don't know whether pellets, ground bait, maggots, casters. I don't know what's right at the minute. So what I've done, I just took a nice approach and throwing some maggots down there. The reason why I've done this is there's a big head of barb on this lake and I don't need many of them to catch a big weight. They're £4 average. Say if it's nick 10 barbel in a match, it's £40. Now if I'm targeting £100, 80 to £100, that's not many bites for that. So that's why I've chose to do that. It might be a gamble, it might be a risk, but maggots, you can catch everything. All I've done is I've brought 7 pints of maggots and a pint of 4mm pellets. Just fish them short, and then everywhere else is maggots. So that's the bait areas of the peg and how I'm going to approach it. I think it's 5 minutes before the start, so we're just going to finish off there, get the match started, then I'll speak to you throughout the match. All in. Right, I'm just going to start filling the pot with some maggots. Just going to feed that 30 metre line. Go and line me mark. What I'm going to do as well, get me catty range. Ooh, chance to drop your catapult. It's not ideal. Give me a little edge of feed as well. Nice about the edge there is quite flat. So bring a lot of fish in without them going up and down a shelf. It's quite a big area. Now I'm going to start with a short pole. Tap about 15 4mm in, just give them a dunk so they all sink. And what I'm going to do when I lay my rig in, a slight angle, and flick it out, make sure it comes down on that shelf. Tap my bait in, not from a height. hold my back shot dead hard. So I'm just keeping everything tight so it comes into that shelf nice and easy. You see any dinks on the way down if there's a fish there, but ideally you just want to work your way into the match. You don't want to just look around, see what's happening. What you want to do as well is just keep an eye on the area you're fed with your maggots, because you can get bubbles and fizzing on the bottom. Just shows there's some fish in the peg, so just keep an eye on all where you're fed. It's about working your way into the match. You can't win the match in the first 5 minutes, but you can soon blow up and get the wrong ideas, so just keep everything nice and easy. Right, I fed 10 to 15 4-mils there, it's hardly any bait. Just keep everything nice and still. I'm expecting it to be quite hard really today. We'll still catch 80 to 100 pound I reckon, but it'd be quite hard. There was a big hail last night and the weather's it's bitter cold today. I think it's northeasterly wind, which is quite cold. It's cutting across this lake. Normally this wind doesn't catch the lake, but we've not come in for a while. I don't really know what's going to happen. Obviously I've had matches in the past where I've got a lot of experience on this lake. I know where to fish and what I'm fishing for, but it's just the little things that are happening at the minute that fine edges, you've got to work out as quick as you can really. There's the odd fish being caught, but nothing massive. Just one thing I'd say, I don't want to go all guns blazing and ruin my peg. A little indication there before I've even tried. Give it that little loose feed so you can one beauty about this lake is though there's a lot of header silvers, a really good quality as well that you can catch and just tick over while you're either waiting for the F1s and carp to feed or to arrive in your peg. There's one beauty about it. It's just a nice way of catching them as well. This lake doesn't get match fished often, so it was nice to come on here. Generally the matches at the minute have been quite hard to start with and then fish feeding later on. I'm just going to feed again now and put a few pellets in. But matches recently just flick out down the shelf. It's been quite hard. The best thing to do is just take your time and not get too giddy with everyone. Cautious myself of getting a bit too like the summer really. You can't expect it to be 200 all guns blazing from the start. Now this is one of my favourite times of year to fish. It's quite technical and really nice fishing. You get time to think about where to go next, what to do, what to fish. Like, don't get me wrong, you have to think in the summer, but because it's so frantic and you're fishing for a big weight, you've got to do two methods and make them work. You can't chop and change. Now it's this time of year, you can chop, change, and little things like hook sizes and sizes of pellets and maggots, casters, corns, stuff like that comes into play, you know. So it makes it quite interesting. Like daily here on pellets, I'm just looking to nick an odd fish. Later on in the match I might have to change to maggots just to get some bites or build an area to swim up. Pellets are quite instant normally and get a little run on them, but doesn't seem the case at the minute. Like I say, people I can see aren't catching a great deal. Now I'm just loose feeding some maggots over that line just to try and draw some fish over to that pile on the bottom. And what you find is these eyes, they'll sit quite high up in the water, even though it's quite cold. Oh, bumped the fish then. Fishing the peg. Just a tiny indication. Just fishing the peg, so that's a little good sign of some there. What I was saying is these eyes, they sit quite high in your peg, so sometimes potting, if you're going to pot some bait, you might not draw them in. If loose feeding some bait, not that too much, you just draw them in. One thing you got to remember is if you're going to catch some F1s and stuff on maggots, you're going to have to work your way through these eyes. There's a lot of them, a high volume of fish. I'm not feeding a lot, 10. What that does is just keeps drawing them into my area, and then hopefully when I go on it I can find out where they're sitting and catch them. See that wind coming across now, it's quite bitter. Might put the fishing slow to start off with until that sun gets up. Right, so we're 25 minutes into the match now. We've had one big barbel, which was foul. Look, they give me a right merry dance. Took me into the lilies to my left, and luckily I've got it back. But looking at the match, I have hardly any indications on this short pole. I've had one barbel, and that's about it, to be honest. I missed one bite other than that, but that looked like a silverfish or a skimmer. So I'm thinking now, I've been cattying my long line just to draw some fishing, because I need that to be my main area of catching, really. Whether it be F1s, carp, silverfish, I think it'll be main target to start with, until later on in the day when need them F1s to come in, but still think it's going to be a bit of low weight. Looking round, there's not many F1s or carp getting caught. I've snared the big barbel, but I think that's luck, to be honest. Oh, there's one now. Just going to feed me maggots. I'm mowing that one on. I don't know what it is. Look at F1. It's come off. It's not ideal. Well, it just shows it's quite iffy losing that one. I'm just going to go in again, just going to give it 5 more minutes, because if I did have an F1 then, make sure I keep it down that shelf. Must have been lightly hooked, that. You can keep throwing them maggots, because there's a really nice bit there where you can catch them. Hopefully we can catch some more barbel and F1s. Well, yeah, with that fish we just lost then, you can show he's lightly hooked. Yeah, say when that fish then, it come off, lightly hooked, the way that come off, it just fell off. It was just feeding quite finicky. Looking round, there's an odd silverfish coming out. Seen one person, young Jamie down the bottom, he's caught a big carp. The one to watch, he's the man on form here at the minute. Won the match last week. Good to see young anglers doing well. Well, he's had a big carp, and then other than that, there's hardly anything getting caught. What ideally, I want to give this just 2 or 3 more minutes to see if I can catch one more fish off this line, and then I'm going to have to go on the pole, long pole on the bottom, I think, just see if I can get any liners and catch some fish, because I'm getting half an hour in now, we've not put any weight together and got an idea how the match is going to go. But let's say keep ticking all lines over. One beauty is if maggots seem to be a good bait and the fish are eating them, I can always change this 5 metre line, which I'm fishing now, to maggots as well, just down the slope, which in theory means any fish that are reluctant to come up into the shallowest water I can get into, or sit in the deepest water, I can feed on this nice hard bottom that's quite, I've already had a barbel there, so it shows us some milling around. As I said before, they're big fish, so you want to catch them if you can. The only thing is they pull so hard, you have to be careful. But I'm not getting any sounds in this short pellet. It's just a nice, ideal way to start. Sometimes you can catch some fish on it. Give you a quick burst at the start, but when they're iffy like this, pellets are really hard to get right. You need to feed the right amount, and they don't eat your bait properly, and it can be a bit frustrating at times. Missed bites, foul lookers, but that's the way it is. When I look at it, I haven't had any fish in the mouth on it, so what I'm going to do, give it 30 seconds or so. If I don't get a bite, I'm going to have to go on that long pole. Just wasting too much time now. I need to start just putting fish in the net. Like I said before, I can always turn this short pole line to a maggot line if I need to. I'll soon find out if maggots are right if I get some bites in the edge and long. If that's the case, then I'll change it over, because that's all I've got with me today, some pellets and some maggots. I don't think I'd know what else to fish on the short pole if that was the area, but maybe we don't need to go there, so yeah, that's enough. Yeah, switch off that now. Put this one down. Get on this I'm just going to start on the bottom just to see what's there. 2 or 3 casts on the bottom. see what's there and then soon change accordingly, but I should get some bites pretty quickly. What you do is flick your rig out, make sure everything's tight, and while your rig's trimming up, just loose feed 10 or so maggots. The reason why I don't want to pot it to start with is just because I don't believe the fishing is going to be that bad that I need to pot it and be really careful. There's a lot of silvers in here, like I said, that are going to eat my bait, and you've got roach eye, chub, all eating your bait before any F1s or carp or barbel can intercept it, so you can get away with loose feeding. Small roach. I didn't get any signs on the way down then. Don't want to be too hasty and make a decision too quickly, but repeat the process. Make sure I'm feeding that edge. It's really important, that edge at the minute. But make sure it's all straight. When I'm holding that float back on the back shot, I'm watching it all the time for any indication, see if I've had some then. Skimmer. What you can find is as well, you can find a small fish sit underneath the big fish, so it's worth having 5-10 minutes just searching, see what's in your peg, working it out. Sometimes them silverfish don't even swirl, you don't even see signs of them in your peg, and you can catch shallow. Like I said, just read your float as it's arcing over. It's a little bite there. Doing a bit better. Better roach, that was on the way down, that. Don't be too hasty, make sure your bait's intact, keep feeding that edge. Only a few maggots. Keep reading that float on the way down. Oh, small fish then. Fine, there's a small fish on the bottom, but it might be just worth having a quick look shallow. See if there's any eyed or bigger fish sitting above them. Got a lot of indications then. But it's important to hold your float back as tight as you can. And you see what's going on above it. A few indications down, so I might, in a minute, I might just pick up my 2-foot rig and just see what's about. Catch any eyed or big roach. So I'm getting a lot of indications now, so we've gone from them 3 little fish to a lot of signs, indications that's making me want to pick my shallow rigs up. No, I'm loose feeding, I'm not potting, so there's fish above where I'm fishing now. That was on the way down again. So if I get any more of that, I'll just try and catch a fish and then I'll come back and pick my shallow rig up. But not many fish getting caught, it's quite slow. Just nice to... That was on the way down, that. The fish can't come off bottom. Skimmer as well. What I'm going to do is put that down. I'm going to pick that one up. Just going to see. Sometimes you can't even see the swirls if you sit a bit deep because it's going to be a bit cool now. If this was the middle of summer, you'd see all the swirls on the top, but it's a bit cooler this time of year now. There you go. Didn't even see a sign. As soon as we went shallow then, we caught a bigger silverfish. And hide as well. It's a good sign. But just by reading the float there, we've gone from catching little 2-ounce fish to putting a bigger fish in the net. So that's why it's important to just read your float. Make sure that you know what's going on in your peg. Just lay your rig in, just make sure it's all tight. Now, because I've caught some shallot, what I'm going to do is just reduce my feed a little bit. Not going to go too wild with it. Not going to try and double pouch and try and lay them on the bottom. I'm just going to keep a continuous column going through, just so you can draw these fish. So layers. And what we might have to do, we might have to drop a bit deeper. We might have gone a bit too shallow there. It's just a nice depth to start at, just so you know where you're fishing. You know if you're in the wrong depth, you get a lot of signs and miss bites, and it's just a nightmare. See there. Not really many bites. Come back to the fish. I'm just going to drop it down a bit, just to see if I can get a few more bites. Try and find my rig. Make sure it's strung out, nice and strung out. Catch these clever silverfish, maybe the odd F1, but at the moment all I want to do is just put some weight in the net. Don't want to try and be here or there are we yet. Sitting right. Is that right? See there, I'm getting a lot more signs on that rig there. Just keep working my bait. just about taking it easy for the minute. Yeah, I'd be careful with them because they do ping off if you ship them back too fast. But 11 jaw slips working nice. Lovely fish, just under £1 that one, so worth fishing for. And do try and catch one more. I'm just going to put a single red maggot on just to see if I can get a bite quicker. Try and catch one more, and then we'll have a little update in an hour or so. What's going on? Hopefully the sun's coming on the water now, it'll warm the water up and get a few more fish feeding, but you can't expect a lot to start with. Quite cold last night. Had a lot of hail and rain. There we go. And just a little change up bait gives a quicker bite, which is ideal. I'm looking for these matches. Just be careful with that. 11 jaws, slip, candlelight, F1s, big carp. Don't race back, just keep everything nice and smooth. So there we've gone from catching next to nothing. Just put a quick £2 in the net, so that's what it's all about, just keep it nice and steady. The fella next to me's getting odd bite shallow now, which is a good sign. He's got an F1 on, to be honest. Needs to be some casters still. Make sure we're nice and tight. You just tell you're at the right depth and you've got the right up bait, you just catch them straight away. They've got a big chub. This is what it's all about, it's getting bites now. At least we can just spend the hour ticking over, priming other lines. And hopefully catch some F1s, but I'm not too unhappy with how the match has gone. Yeah, could have caught a few more fish to start with, but I think weather's put play to that and it's getting a lot cooler. Like I said before, we get a bit giddy with the summer bagging, but you just put a fish in the net all the time, it'll be hard to beat. Not too bothered about catching them. There's the odd one in here. As long as we're getting a bite then, it doesn't matter so much. Just got to be a busy way of fishing, just make sure we lay the rig out, hold it tight, make sure we don't miss a chance. Let's pull that out, that one. Quite clear the water today, so maybe they are sitting a bit deeper. What we're going to do, net this one and then give an update in an hour or so how it's going. Hopefully we have a few F1s in the net, but just net him. Oh, that was lucky, wasn't it? But just shoot back in an hour or so. Hopefully we've caught a few more, but we'll keep going. Right, so we're an hour and a half in the match now, and this maggot shallow line's been steady away. We can get some bites on it, we can catch some fish. I've had one F1 at about £2.5. I've had a big eyed, it's about the same again. Had a few more eyed. I've been getting steady bites, but it's been really difficult. You've been having to search around your peg. 1 minute they're sitting at like 16 inch. Next minute they're sitting quite deep at 3 foot. It's big eyed now. And then chasing them in between, so it's quite interesting. You keep you on your toes. But one thing I've done is I've changed that short maggot line, short pellet line, sorry, into a maggot line. I just feel that the way it's fishing, I don't think I'm going to get a good run on pellets again. That's a good hide, that good pound. So I don't feel like pellets is going to be right today. So what all I've done is just start throwing maggots there, down the shelf, on the hard bottom, and I threw them in the edge. So I'm probably looking at, I want to say, just under £20, 15, £20. I would say we've got closer to 20 than 15. And it's not bad considering an hour and a half. And we've not caught many F1s, carp, or a few barbel, so many fish and a big fish now. We're just ticking over in this long pole line now. But lad next to me on peg 4 is catching a few shallow and casters on a jigger. He's caught more F1s than me on it, so maybe if he catches a few more I might have to put a jigger on and search down the depths, but I don't feel like that's going to be necessary. But if he starts catching the load on it, then I might have to do it. But I'll just keep ticking over. What I'm thinking is there's a lot of missed bites and lines, so they might come back up and just keep feeding these other 2 lines I've got. So what I'm going to have to make a decision in a minute is I'm going to have to rest this line that I'm on at the minute. I'm just going to have to come back and change, but I'm going to have to rest this line at the minute which I'm fishing, just to give it a chance to build back up again. So I needed somewhere else to go. Well, that pellet line wouldn't have been a great option if I'm truthfully honest. I've hardly any bites on it. Far looked every fish I've caught on it, so that was a waste of time, so discarded that. And the only other bait I've got with me is maggots, so hopefully it's a good decision and we can catch some fish on that. But I don't see why it wouldn't. Any fish that didn't want to come up that shelf can just sit there and be happy. But shallow up about 4 inches now, see if it makes a difference. That's what it's been like for the past hour. It's just been chop, change, chop, change. Sometimes you get loads of indications, sometimes you catch hardly anything. One thing I haven't tried is back on the bottom, but I don't feel like it's going to be great. It's gone a bit bright now. And quite bright, and last night was a cold night, so I don't think any fish is going to be wanting to feed out in the bottom on the lake. That's why I think when we started we got a few small silvers on it, but keep working that big. So the guy next to me is catching a few. It's really difficult to try and pinpoint where these fish are sitting. Now the F1 I caught was on a 3-foot rig and it had it on the drop, so God knows where's where he was sat. But I'm thinking now, just keep trying to tick over on this, but I'm going to have to look either on that short line in the next half an hour or so. I've been throwing maggots, or in that edge. One thing I've been swapping is in my hot bait. I've had a few on double whites, I've had a few on a single red, single white, just trying to let this fish see now. I'm going to try a few missed bites, so I'm going to just put a single maggot on just so we can see what it is. Could be a small roach, but I did it before and I had quite a big hide on it. Straight away there. Just that little change from a double to a single just gets you a bite. Now I know it's not 4 ounces, so catching an odd F1 on the jigger next to me, so I might have to go and set one up. But I'm catching it quite deep, so Hopefully, just got to keep feeding this line. I've got quite a bit of water to draw fish from. If I need, I don't feel like I'm pending. There you go. Just a change from that double to a single. Pays dividends. Don't sit there missing bites. Just make sure there's change. I haven't changed anything on my deck. Anything on the rig. I've just put a single maggot on. What this is. Pulling back. Hybrid. Nice fish that. Nice hybrid. See, that's a pound, so not too disappointed. Always noticeable, all the F1s that are getting caught either shallow or getting caught very deep. It's why it's good to look around as you're shipping out and stuff. What's getting caught where and how they're getting caught, because you can just try it in your peg. There you go. On that single maggot. So like I said, they've just gone from a double to a single. It's just 3 fish for like £2. So it's noticeable. It's quite challenging. It's been hard to work your bites out and where they're sitting and what they're doing, but so just keep loose feeding all the time. One thing here, if you do get some bites off some F1s or barbel or carp, they are a big stamp, so we're not looking for many bites. Probably £3 average you're talking, so don't want to get too worried. Just want to put some fish in the net and hopefully you can catch some. Save, don't mind. Oh, not too fast with that one. Check my bait. I don't mind catching them fish. Just extra weight in the net. When these matches where 80, 90, £100 going to win, say if you've got 30, £40 silver, you're going to need 10 to 15 bonus fish on this lake, and you're laughing. We got 2, so won't mean many bites later on. Yeah. Swinging. Just 4 ounces, not a bad size. You have days like this where singles better, doubles better. I know what it's like. If there's some F1s turn up later in the peg shallow, then double will be miles better than single, but at the minute I don't see many around. I haven't hooked many, hooked 1. But with the single you're just getting a lot of bites. It's ideal. What I'm thinking though is just keep persevering where I can. Try and build up these shorter pole lines where you can nick an odd fish. Because there is going to be a point in the match where they feed and you've got to make the most of that, whether it's 10 minutes, an hour. Catching some silvers. Now I'm not too fussed on catching them. I know a bit of getting pestered, but just clearing the peg out of them. Don't want to be sitting there missing bites and thinking, oh, is that F1s or carp? You just want to get a bite, come back. Like I say, these low weight matches, when you're trying to fish for 80, 90 pounds, which is probably going to be enough, 100 if it goes really well, but got to remember it is cold and it is quite bright and Still cold today, it's quite a nip in the air. You don't want to be blasting all guns blazing, fishing 12 inches deep, catching nothing. Just want to be putting some fish in the net. So what I'm thinking is just keep ticking over this, keep searching my peg, and hopefully find some fish eventually. But it's nice just to keep ticking over why I can't get them bigger fish. Just an easy £30 really. Just don't be lazy with your rig. You keep working that rig, keep laying it in, lift and drop. Say it all the time, it's massive at the end of the match. If you keep doing that, you can catch a few extra fish, which will make all the difference. You see, not many bites there now, so what I'm going to do is just drop a bit deeper. Drop a bit deep until you can catch anything. On the drop. Nice light rig. Strung out. Take your time. That's why I really like these matches. You don't have to be all guns blazing. You can sit there, let your rig settle. Keep ticking over. Don't get me wrong, they're not the ideal fish we want, but something in the net. Trying to double deeper because there's a few small fish and I can still catch them on a double, but I can edge my chances on a bit bigger fish. So just keep, when you lay it out, keep everything tight. Make sure that back shot's tight to your float. So you're searching the depths of your water. Anything you come across, you're covered. If you get a bite, you see a sharp dint, you can see it on your float, you haven't missed anything. See, now this is telltale sign. I've dropped a bit deeper and it's a bit harder. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to drop short in a minute, give that 20 minutes or so, see what I can catch there, give us a bit of chance to recover, get some fish back in the peg, and then hopefully get another run again. Once you can find, you're missing bites and not really catching. Be a sign that your peg needs to be rested. This is like a telltale sign now. Just caught 3 and 3 chucks and then I've gone a little way, not caught them where I was catching, then I've dropped deeper and missed a few bites. So you're struggling really to keep the fish coming. Now instead of sitting there and persevering with it and saying, oh, that's the way it is, just think about, have you clattered them too much? I've been in this line now for an hour and 10 and I've probably caught 16-17 on it, considering that most of them are mainly silvers and it's not fishing great. It's not ideal just to sit there and clatter every fish you can, because you won't get a run later on the match. So what you want to do is like sort of like peg management. Give yourself, try and catch one more on you. I'm going to give myself a chance. I'm just going to drop short. If we don't catch anything short, at least the rest of this line. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to rest this line, drop short for 20 minutes, and I'll report back in an hour or so. So we've come to the halfway stage at the minute, and that past hour is a little bit slow. If I'm honest, I didn't catch any F1s or carp, and I've only ticked over the few silvers, whereas a few people around the lake have caught some F1s and a big silverfish, so I'm a little bit worried that maybe maggots was the wrong approach. I don't know. It's a bit... I'm still feeding all my lines. Main thing is I can get bites and I feel like I'm still in contention, but probably 10, 15 pound behind where I would ideally want to be at the halfway stage. Probably got 25 to 30 pound. Now, looking around the lake, it's not too bad, but there's a few fish getting caught now, and I need to ideally work out where my lines I need to settle on are. At the moment I'm fishing maggots everywhere and can't really get a run of fish up. Hang on, put some in there, better there. Might be foul up, but it's foul up. But that was a better fish, so maybe there's some in the peg now. Not really sure, maybe try a single maggot, just see if I can nick one. But it's getting quite difficult. I've had one F1 and one barbel. Lad next to me's caught a few. He's probably got like 5 or 6 F1s and some silvers. Might not be too far behind, but when I'm fishing, not catching any bigger fish, and tried my edge, that was just resulted in hiding smaller fish. I'm going to keep feeding it. Could have an arrival of fish, 3 or 4 fish in your back in the race, so it's just persevering. It's not about losing your head at this point in time, but I do feel a bit lost what to do at the minute. So I just go through the motions and just try and catch what I can, and then hopefully the feed lasts 90 minutes, or really struggling to get any quality silvers now, which is not a good sign. I'd like a little go on the bottom, a long pole, that just resulted in small roach. I don't know whether there could have been a few big fish lurking on the bottom, or the thing is just getting smaller and smaller. The peg don't feel like it's getting any stronger, which is not a good sign. Yeah, the odd flop around the lake. Might try shalling up in a minute just to see if there's anything sitting above. It's a better fish. I had just rested this line Hopefully it's not foul up. Ugh. It feels foul up. I had just rested this line and then just dropped back on it. Shallow. It's foul up, that definitely. So maybe I need to shallow up, me being lazy there. Take your time with it, try and net that to come off. Not ideal. Maybe there's a few fish in the peg now. We'll just shallow up because I'll foul up two there. Which isn't ideal in this situation, but that happens. One run shallow would be ideal, but at the minute it's quite. But the only thing that's a positive is that I'm just putting fish in the net. Maybe not the great size. I've probably caught 4 or 5 pounds short on my edge, all silvers before. Where if people are sitting for carp and stuff now, it might be still in the race with them. It's hard to tell really, fishing's so difficult. Could be a few on the other side of the island catching a few. But just about persevering. I'm just thinking about trying to nick a fish till the end and hopefully get a run. Last thing I want this to be like this till the last hour and then I'm to really chase myself to get any bites, but it's died off a little bit now, this shallow, so maybe a few F1s have come in. Hard to tell with so many silvers about. Like I said, they're not really catching them now. Quite difficult to catch, and this could be why. Could have caught an F1 here and just might be a bigger silverfish, but it's a big roach. Oh, look at that for a roach. Can't moan about that one, but lad next week's just gone back out on the jigger and caught again, so maybe it's 10-15 minutes, so have a look on the jigger. Maybe they want a bit static bait sitting a bit deeper. It offers a different style of presentation, the jigger, so that might be the way they want it on the day. I haven't set one up, but I've got one in my rod bag ready to go in case I need it. Well, that was a nice fish to catch, that. Pulled a bit too hard in that one. This depth's starting to be a lot better. Hopefully things are starting to happen a bit now. Keep feeding these other lines. It could come good. Get me out of trouble, but not ideal what we want. It's a bit better. It's crazy, once you find the right depth you can really catch these fish. It's just trying to go fortune process, keep feeding that edge. I need an area in the peg where we're going to get a run of fish now. You think it's an hour and a half, two and a half hours to go. You're looking at it, you've got to start pushing your peg now so you see where you can get it to. No point just ticking over and coming fourth and fifth, you need to ramp it up. See if you can push your peg to your limit and get a run of fish. Keep feeding them because you only need one run. And these fish can come in, be ravenous. And catch them really quick, whichever method you need to. But thoughts are just keep persevering what we're doing, trying to figure it out, but in the next hour or so I really need to have caught some better fish if we're going to try and push to win the match. Obviously I don't know what's getting caught on the other bank, so I can't really say too much. Ooh, stop my cat there. But from what's coming around me, I need to be doing a lot better. Lads on the left, right, sorry, on peg fours, catching a lot steadier than me, shallow. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change the rig and hopefully come back in an hour and things have perked up a bit. I hope so. Right, we're coming to the last 90 minutes of the match now, and that last hour has been a bit more productive. I've caught a carp, about 3-4 pounds. I've caught the F1 the same, shallow that was. I've caught a few bigger fish, silvers on my short line, roach and stuff. Probably caught 5-6 pound there. And I've caught a few hide and stuff, shallow, and things around the lake are starting to change. Now, I run my mate Mike on the other side, and he said that he had the same as me really, that last hour before all this, which was like £30, and he said the lad next to him has probably got £35-40, which is the same as what happened next to me. Now, in theory, that's not too bad because I thought I was way off the pace and couldn't really get in any rhythm, and I was starting to be honest lose track in what I should be doing and trying to force things when they couldn't be forced. And he gave me a little phone call and he said that he's caught one F1 on the barbel, which I had the same of, and some hide. So in theory he could only have more silvers than me, which is probably not too bad. But then I just had that big F1 and a carp and put me back in good stead really. Nice little 4-ounce roach these, get loads of bites. But looking now, as I said before, things are starting to change around the lake. And what I mean by this is a fellow on to my left has caught 2 or 3 barbel down the edge quite close on a top kit. The way I caught my fish were quite high in the water, shallow, whereas the other one was being quite deep. And it seems like there's some fish moving now. Now what ideally running through my head now is I need to catch a run. Now if he's catching them fish down the edge on a top kit, I think he's fishing maggots or casters, so he's catching some barbel. So hopefully I can drop in my edge and catch the same, because it's all I need is a few runner. There we are. Run a bit bigger fish and they'll be up there. It's the same as what I thought it was going to be. It's a bit lower weight than I thought, unless we kept really well last 90 minutes, but probably looking like I've got 35 to 40 pounds. I reckon I got 35 something pounds, so a bit of catching up to do, and I reckon I need another 35, 40 pounds this last 90 minutes to do any good in the match, but at least we're in good stead. I reckon 45 maybe 50 is winning, so it's not too far behind. It's 3 or 4 barbel or some F1s, and it showed signs this before of it coming good shallow, but I had one and then it's drifted away from me again. But hopefully we can get a run. Now, things might happen, people might catch them in other places, but I can't affect their peg, I can't do anything about that. I've got to focus on what I've got to do. So if I'm in the hunt, I just want to keep doing what I'm doing. I don't want to go too mad with my feed and where I'm fishing and my peg. Crazy really, I hadn't had any better rides, and then all of a sudden just come back this last hour or so. I've had a really good run, to be fair. Probably had 15, 16 pound that hour, nearly 20 pounds, so it wasn't far away. Look at that for a roach. That's what I mean, quality silvers, that's near enough 10, 12 ounce. But I just want to be topping up all my lines, just keeping everything fed. See if you can see on the camera now, I don't know if you can see it, the guy to my left just caught another fish in the edge barbel, so that is a good sign, because it is a nice barbel area where he is, but so is where I am, so hopefully a bit more patient, I can catch some bigger fish later on and then pull it back. Don't get me wrong, I don't want to be catching these hard in the last hour. I think my match is going to be fading away from me if I'm doing that. But just want to give the insight of if you were fishing a match like this and you think, oh, I'm too far behind. Like, personally, I've been guilty of it today, thinking that I wasn't in the running, can't get a bite, it's rubbish. But a simple phone call has just changed my match, changed my attitude, and I shouldn't have been lazy. Should have just kept going, kept ticking over. Doing what I was doing was the right thing. I just never had any of them bonus fish, which is maybe a bit of luck on a day like today, but it's what is in your peg. If you're not in your peg, you can't catch him. Don't get me wrong, you could easily drop down this edge, catch 10 barbel, last 90 minutes and weigh 80 pounds and think, oh, 0 to 0, but you're going to need a lot of luck to do that when it's fishing so hard. Like I said before, the best hook bait was single white maggot. That's been the best hook bait today. But it's bitterly cold. I'm going to do is have a drop short, see what we can catch there. I think this is fading on me now. I rested it, come back on, caught a few fish, but just need to keep topping the fish up in the net and hopefully get a run. But looking back, maybe I should have cast this shallow and caught a few more fish, but to be fair, I'd been coming on, I didn't really know, and maggots are a really safe option in this lake. You can get a lot of bites. With it being cool, I thought you might have to catch a few fish on the bottom. Bite straight away there. A few fish on the bottom, but I don't really think casting doesn't really gives you the option to do it. But I think maggots is the best option for that. Maybe I made a mistake not fishing any pellets in my peg to try and catch a carp or some F1s middle of the match, but doesn't seem like the feeding. No one caught anything in the middle apart from 2 people, and they've caught both on a jigger, so there's no, that's the way they caught them, is no people caught some in the edge, some shallow. See, I've been a big silvers on the short line, another big roach. Real big weight builders, you're only fishing short 2 hand. Nice fishing. This is the start of the match where everyone's going to start pushing their pegs, trying to catch down the edge, trying to catch some bigger fish. And if you're in the running now, you've got to give yourself the best chance of catching the best weight you can. So I think the best way I can catch is either down this edge and throwing some maggots, or if they turn back up shallow. So we turn up shallow. Oh, some of the short. Turn back up shallow, then you can do a rate really quickly. But you can catch some quality silvers on this short line. You did the right thing changing that back to maggots instead of pellets, because I don't think I'd have caught that. So that's 10-12 ounce. He's £1.5 there in 2 chucks. That's the one F1 in theory, isn't it? Just make sure you don't burst that. Make sure your bait's in good nick before going in. Don't fish a burst maggot or be lazy and I've popped it in. Just redo it. Put it back on. You want to keep loose feeding that area you swim long, because if you stop feeding it, someone next to you keeps feeding theirs, they're just going to pinch your fish and then you're buggered then. So what you do is keep working your peg. Don't let them nick your fish in theory, just keep feeding. And all you're doing is drawing more fish in. Hopefully you can have a good run on it. One thing is noticeable, if you don't get a bite unless it's when it just hits the shell on that short line. It's nice. You feed some bait, it's always on the settle. You're getting your baits, there's not really many fish. I haven't caught many. See, that was just on the drop then. I haven't caught many fish as it's settled and sat there. There's no point sitting there for a long time waiting for a bite when all your bites have been either on the settle or on the drop. It's all about maximising your chances of trying to catch one. You don't sit 5 minutes on the bottom, then you lift it out, flick it in and get one within 10 seconds of it falling through the water. You might as well just give yourself a chance of fishing on the bottom, but also keep working that bait. It's not ideal fishing conditions today. Oh, there's a bite on the bottom there. It's probably a small fish, but dead cold last night, a lot of rain, and then today we've come and it's bright sun now. Them F1s won't want to feed in this. Be hiding under them trees somewhere. Small fish there. There's one thing with maggots, if they're not right, it can cost you a few small fish, but I didn't really know what to fish today on here, to be honest. Just went with a safe option, and maybe it was wrong. Maybe I should have just gone with casters. Took it as it come, but just on the settle again. Looking back now, I'm going to have to try and catch some fish in this right left edge. That's going to be my area if I'm going to do any good in the match. I think that's going to be where I'm going to be have to catch. Oh, what's this? Hey up. Look, something bigger here. Oh, come on. Standard. Far look, that one. Quite annoying. One thing I do want to touch on is you've got to keep your lines going. Like I've been one thing that's a must is to keep all your lines going. I've been in the past before, I've done it where you've just given up for a little bit and you can't do it. I felt like before today I was sitting here, I was going through the motions, I was trying to, and I just felt not right. And as soon as I found out where I'm really not that far behind, then it gives you a little push into not into being so lazy. Now you want to keep your lines going, keep them all topped up. At the end of the day, all you need is just a little run of fish and you can put 20 to 30 pound in your net, no problem. So what I'm going to do, I think there's an hour and 20 left now, something like that, hour and 15. What I'm going to do is try and drop this edge, try and get this edge to work. If we can, then I think we'll be on for a winner, but just going to be hard, just try and nick a few fish. Not fishing great, I think we're fishing for 70, 80 pound now, which I've got 40 now. I need a good run later on, really, to catch some fish up, but we'll see. Coming now to the final 15 minutes of the match, and we had a productive last hour, to be fair. We've had 2 in the edge, a carp and F1. I've had about 4 or 5 F1 shallow. Now, I think it pulled me back in it, but with the last half an hour or so, I've not caught a single carp or an F1, which is worrying. But the lad next to me has caught a few steady just on maggots or casters in the top 4 of water, just in front of him. He's catching steady there, so I think he'll beat me, and then I think the other 2 on the other side are doing well, so I think it's a glimmer of hope when I caught them fish shallow, and then dropped in the edge here on maggots and had a good run. Had two fish pretty quick, and then not really caught anything since that. Cab potted just to slow it down, just see if we can get some bites, but a few people catching the odd fish, but not going to be a massive weight. I reckon still need 70-80 pounds to win, but I think I'm up to 60 pound now. But with 15 minutes to go, I think I'm going to need 3 or 4 bigger fish just to pull me back in it, I think. But I think I've just missed out. But looking back on my match, really, I should have just not lost my head and just kept plugging away, putting them fish in the net. Now I think I've got 60 pound, I'm not sure. I've got silvers, and then I've probably caught 6 pound in the edge, 5 pound barbel short, 11 pound, and then caught 20 odd pound of F1 shallow, 5 or 6, so could be. They are big fish. Just a shame this line never kicked off. The lad on the left caught a few in the edge across from me, but it's so weird today. Like, the guy to my right's caught in the deep water, and I've hardly caught any. Well, I've not caught a decent fish on the short pole line. Only roach. Big roach, so I can't complain, but I've only caught roach there. And then caught the odd better silver shallow. Now, I haven't had a bite on this line for a while now, so I might have to go back shallow just so we can get something. Maybe I should have fished in the deepest water, just right in the bottom of that shelf with maggots, but I think casters have been the way to go today. Kicking myself, really. Should have brought casters, but you learn these things. I've enjoyed it. It's been really hard. It was nice when I got that run shallow and dropped in the edge and caught one, but from now it's just gone dead. Try to go shallow now. Best depth when I catching him was about 20 inches deep on a single white maggot, but that's gone iffy now. Struggling to catch anything there now, but like I say, we've had a nice day. It's been really tough. I don't think that hail helped last night. The last time I rested this and went on it, I caught an F1, so hopefully it'll be the same again, but you never know. Yeah, I don't think the heavy rains helped. And bright sun today. There we go. Noticeable when there's some F1s or bigger fish in your peg, just to slow it all down. I think it's an F1. Just to slow everything down, that's the best thing it's been. Just catty and lift and drop. Instead of blasting your bait, make sure the fish are sitting in your peg eating your bait. Now maybe early on I was too forceful, trying to force me peg, but I had a brilliant run before, 3 or 4 F1 shallow on the bounce. And a good fish, £2, £3 pound. But I don't think it'll be enough today. Once again, that single white maggot's been the best hook bait. like I said, just slowing everything down's been the best. Maybe a bit gun-ho, trying to feed too much bait and go a bit mad. See there, it's crazy really. The rest of this line and come good again. Crews don't give up, you know, sat on the edge, just drop back shallow, and have a quick run. You can soon build a weight with these fish. 5 or 6 of these last 10 minutes can give you £10. But it's come out of the net there. Crazy how single maggot's been the best bait, little 18 hook, just scaled everything down. So happy with my setup for my future matches, but just today I've been a bit rusty really, not match fit. I haven't been fishing that much myself, and it hasn't been textbook match really. It's been hard, been chop and change, had to feed, and I think I ticked over nicely, but I think not catching quality fish quick enough when I've needed to it's going to cost me massive today. Say I've ended up with £65 and something like that, and 70-80 wins, you're kicking yourself. Manage your peg a lot better. See, I've caught 3 F1s quite quick there, and just cutting out my feed, still feeding, but 5 or 6 twice, lift and drop. Don't have to slap, just keep lifting and dropping. Single maggot, light hook, SFL, and see you can do some damage. They're probably a full really. I should have done it a bit earlier and throughout the day, just cut it down a bit. Maybe that's missed bites because there's too much bait in the peg, but as you say, every day's a learning curve. It's been good learning curve, pulled too hard on that one. That is not ideal. But every day's a learning curve. You need to learn from these matches. Not going to be rocking up. Oh, won. At least in good stead. I'm going to Tunnel Barn tomorrow, so at least I know I'm there. I'm not going to go into the match all guns blazing. Just going to go in with a cautious approach. I don't feel like I've got strong solid now. Probably going to be a roach this. We had some nice roach today, but I didn't go all guns blazing today. But I just feel like I was a bit too aggressive. Probably feeding for silver fish that weren't there, and look at that for a roach. Look at that. That is some roach. Quality fish that is. Can't moan when you're catching fish like that, but don't get me wrong, I didn't want to film today's match and just be bagging up one a chuck shell. It would have been nice, but at least it's been tricky. You had to talk about what's gone on, what things need to change. In the middle of a match, sometimes you can think you're miles behind and you're not. That's what I've been guilty of today, to be honest. Probably behind now, but that's just because I had a slow half an hour. But like you say, when you get some silvers lined up, there, that's two 3 ounce, that one. Not very hard to catch, so you can soon do a weight of them. Just put some in the net all the time, especially on days like today. Really hard, bright sun. It's crazy, everyone's had like an odd bite, no one's going to run away with it. It'll be a nice close match. Like I said then, just because you're catching a few few fish now. Slow it all down. Another F1. Slow it all down. Cray jelly can just turn up. Soon do some damage to these though when they come. They are big old fish. I haven't had the chub today. Normally when I'm on this peg I catch this chub. It's the same size every time, it's about £2. A resident chub, but we haven't had him today. But don't want to pull this too hard, I want to make sure I get everything in. And these matches are nice and close now, which they are going to be. They're close when you're catching £300 weights, never mind 80, 90, £100 weights. Make sure you play it nice and slow. Don't pull its head off. If that's the last fish, it's the last fish. It's my own fault for not catching them quick enough, but look at that. That's a massive F1. Can't even get my hand round him. I said that single maggot today has been the best bait. Been the best bait, single maggot today. Do really enjoy fishing maggots, shallow. That you get to work as bites you can have. You can tell we're at the right depth here because we're not getting any liners, missed bites, that many. Catching the odd fish. Not getting too many roach and stuff. They're nice fish though. 3 ounce. We're not getting too many roach. Got a bit longer lash than normal, just because it's quite not mega clear this lake, but it's a little bit clear, and I thought, to be fair, I thought we'd be catching these silvers a lot higher than we are, like 12 inch deep, and nice long lash is ideal to catch them like that, but they haven't really come up today. Maybe ever due to the rain last night and bright sun today, but just worth knowing when you're in a match and you think, oh, it's a bit clear, just have a little bit longer lash. You can sometimes get a few extra more bites, especially in the winter time when the water goes really clear. It's not too bad at the minute, it's probably 5-6 inches down, you can see, which isn't too bad. Keep working that rig all the time, don't leave it too static for too long. One of the most important things that was shallow fishing people don't know whether forget or don't know, just keep lifting and dropping, or slapping in the summer, height of the summer, or laying it back in if you need to. It's like now, if I miss a bite now, I'll probably lay my rig back in, lift, drop. feet, lay missed a bite, lay it in, start again and I'll feed. Try and get one more, I don't think we will, but we can try. About a minute or so left. What I'm going to do is get weighed in, see how we've done and then report back. Report back so we've done a bit of conclusion. Much easier to conclude when you know what weights have been around you and how you've done. I'd like to have won, but I don't think I will have. Probably just been pipped. Be £5 wrong side of the weights. I feel. But such is life. I've had loads of bites today. It's weird though, we haven't had many fish in the edge. Peg 22's caught a few fish in the edge. We've done quite well, to be fair. Big stamp barbel. I'm not envious because I don't want my arm pulled off, but so that's it all out. What we're going to do is just get weighed in, see how we've done. Right, so we come to the end of the match now, everyone's weighed in, and I've weighed in £84, which is a lot more than I expected. My silverfish net went £44, and then my carp went £40, which I thought in my silvers I had £30, and my carp, say, 30 to 32, so I had a few more than I expected. I feel a bit of an idiot, to be fair, because I thought I was way behind the lad next to me who had 73. I've just done him. I think that last sort of 10 minutes where I've caught him shallow has done me well. And it just shows there's a little lesson to learn that you can't give up. But I never was on track at what I had, so in theory I was a bit daft, a bit stupid there, but I've ended up second, which is good today. I've enjoyed my match, I've learned a lot. Felt I was a bit out of place, getting a bit agitated of not catching and trying to force it too much. And when I've slowed down, the fish have been in my peg late on, I've worked out how to catch them and it's been good. Now, Rob Parker has won the match on peg 16, he's had £116, so well done, mate. I don't think I could have caught that here, but I do feel if a fish cast as shallow, I'd have caught a few more F1s, because the way I found it today, they wanted the noise but not as much bait. And normally when I fish maggots shallow, I feed 10 to 15 maggots twice. And the best way to catch them today was just feed 5 twice. So with casters you can get away, they make the same amount of noise and less bait. So looking back, it's been a good match. I've learned a lot. The edges have been a bit slow. I've had 2 fish in them. I've not had any proper fish short, just big roach, but it's been an enjoyable day. Looking back, the lessons I can take from this is, one, when I'm fishing my matches, just stop looking around too much. I'll be brutally honest, I was a bit agitated and a bit scatty at first, and when I started catching, I've stopped that and it's been fine. Secondly, is all my gear's right that I feel now for this time. It's getting cooler. I've gone from GPMs to SFLs. I've dropped my main line to 017. I've got smaller rigs on, more delicate, and what I want to do is just run you through the best rig when I caught shallow. So I've got the new 11 draw slip. I'm really a fan of this now. It's so soft when you're on the strike, it pours out, but when you lift it up, it's that first initial lift on your top kit powers up. Now, just a bead there, with me line attached to it, just so it's nice and positive and connection. Back shot, now this is really important because the water's a bit clear. I've used the back shot just to keep my float nice and stable. Now this is a 4B8 F1 sheller, which I've got 4 number 11s on. And the reason why I've picked number 11s over number 10s is because it's fishing with maggots and it's getting a bit cooler. What I want to do is I want to spread it out through the water. So if the fishing's good, I can put all my shot on my hook length like that. Don't know if you can pick that up, but just all like that. But then if fishing's a bit difficult, I can string it all out. I've got 4 to play with there, so I can put 3 dead close together, then 1 away under the float so it cocks, or I can just play about it. It just gives you a bit more versatility of your rig. Also, one massive important thing is what depth on your top kits now. It's coming to the time of year where this is really important. It's important in the summer months, but you catch a lot of your fish, say 16 inches and down, which it doesn't really affect you because you're catching so well. But this time of year, when it's getting a bit cooler, it really matters. Like today, when I've caught shallow, 20 inches has been my best depth. Say if I come on the match tomorrow, at least I know when the fish are feeding in my peg at 20 inches is the best depth. It might change to 24, but you're not guessing where you need to be fishing. You can just put it at 20, start there as a guide, then move it down, move it higher up, sorry, so say like 30 inch if you're not getting bites. But if you're getting a lot of bites, you can move it back down. So it's a nice little marker to start your match with. And this is what I mean by match fit. You come in now, I'll just put this on there now, straight into my top kit case, and it's ready to go tomorrow. I've been fishing, I know it's shotted perfectly. I'm not coming to the bank rushing round, getting set up properly. With my festival next week at Westwood, I want to get everything sorted, get me on the bank and get fishing. So that's just a little rundown. Hope you've enjoyed this live match. It's my first one, so I apologise if anything's gone wrong, but I appreciate all the comments on past videos. So don't forget to like the video if you like it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on the bank soon. Cheers.